What's up, everybody? Zac Graham coming to you for FTN Daily, jumping into week 4 of the NFL season and talking SuperDraft, where we're dealing with multipliers instead of your typical salary cap structure. If you haven't played on SuperDraft before, you can check out our comprehensive site review at ftndaily.com and then go over to SuperDraft.io, get signed up and registered, and when you deposit, use the promo code FTN, and any deposit of $100 or more, SuperDraft is going to give you $100 in bonus funds with only a 1x playthrough. So there's no slow drip. You can turn those bonus funds into cash fast. Let's jump into some of the plays for week 4. And at the quarterback position, Josh Allen is standing out to me, 1.2x against the lowly Houston Texans defense. The Bills, massive favorites, but they still have the highest team total on the slate. We know what Josh Allen did through the air last week, 4 touchdowns, massive fantasy score, and we also know what he can do with his legs. So I just think the upside for Josh Allen here is immense. And if you don't want to have such a low multiplier, we can look all the way up to 1.6x for Sam Darnold out in Carolina. Going up against this Dallas Cowboys defense, Darnold already near a 70% completion percentage on the season and almost averaging 300 yards a game, now gets Dallas, who is second worst in the league in terms of their pass defense. And we're talking yardage. They're giving up 331 yards through the air per game thus far in the young season. So I do like Sam Darnold at that high multiplier. And we can jump over to the running backs and look at a repeat from last week's video. Saquon Barkley still at 1.4x this week. A tougher matchup. Saw the Falcons last week, obviously got in the end zone, but facing this Saints defense, third ranked against the run in terms of yards allowed this season, but Saquon's ups still in the high 80s in terms of his snap rate, and we saw him get back involved in the passing game last week, and even in this half PPR format, 7 targets in week 3. I think he remains just as involved, if not more so, in this Giants offense. So I like Saquon at that number. And then a little bit higher, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 1.5x against the Philadelphia defense that allows 133 yards on the ground per game through the first 3 weeks. Last week, 19 opportunities for Clyde, even with that early fumble, and got into the end zone through the air. So I like going back to Clyde again this week. I think Andy Reid showed last week that he's going to stick with his guy, his first-round pick from last season. We can slide over to the wide receiver position and 2 guys that I'm actually going to stack with my quarterbacks. Stefan Diggs, 1.15x against Houston. You can pair him up with Josh Allen. Again, that highest team total on the slate as of now. And Diggs really hasn't gone off yet. We know he had the monster season last year, and if Josh Allen is going to have a big game, I like pairing him with Diggs, who can catch 2, maybe 3 touchdowns on his best day. So I like the upside of that pairing. And my second pairing here, we'll go back to the Panthers and DJ Moore, who is off to a blazing hot start. He's tied for 6th in the league in terms of targets per game, just over 10 a game. And if you pair him with Darnold, again, DJ Moore's at 1.4x. We talked about Darnold at 1.6. If they hook up for a score or 2, that could vault you to the top of those GPP leaderboards. And we'll finish off with tight end here. Kind of similar to Darren Waller, who was at that 1.3x multiplier, which I thought was too high last week. And George Kittle, 1.4x now against the Seattle defense. George Kittle saw the targets last week, finally with 9 targets in week 3. And again, I just think that this guy is too talented to have this high of a multiplier, so he's going to be in the vast majority of my SuperDraft lineups. But again, I'm not a single entry player. I like entering multiple lineups, so I'm also eyeing Tyler Higbee at 1.65x. He didn't get the targets in week 2, but week 1 and week 3 kind of sandwiched that poor performance with 6 targets in each week, and he's seeing 91% of the snaps through 3 weeks for this Rams offense. I think this is an offense we want to have shares of. A lot of people will gravitate to Cooper Kupp, who's obviously had a fantastic start to the year, but at that tight end position with the high multiplier, I do like Tyler Higbee at 1.65x. So that's going to do it for me. Make sure you stay tuned to FTN Daily all week with our free SuperDraft content, culminating with the SuperDraft Sunday study at 11 a.m. Eastern on the FTN YouTube and Twitter page. You can follow me at DFS. Make sure you're following FTN Daily at that same Twitter handle, and we'll see you on Sunday for the Sunday study.